Hi, guys. Leander, Jim, and Kent. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon on CBIA's BizCast. So I know this is the first time in the firm's history that you guys are evaluating kind of this three-person leadership model. So I wanted to start kind of just by asking about the departure of Alan Lieberman at the end of 2020 and what led to the shift in the expansion of your leadership model. So, Jim, if you want to take that away.
Sure. I'll start and kick it off and just say that the three of us were very surprised, I think, and saddened to see Alan going. He spent his career at Shipman and Goodwin. It did so much for the firm that we were all disappointed to see him leave. When he made the announcement that he was leaving, though, I think that the three of us were probably surprised and encouraged that there was consensus among the partners that they wanted the firm to head in a somewhat different direction. And that different direction was marked by collaboration. I think the recognition that it's really important to come together as a firm with offices in different cities, to come together as one firm and to make sure you have touchstones in each of those different offices that can build a better bridge, a stronger bridge between the offices. None of us was charged with only have responsibility for our respective offices. And that said a lot too. We're all looked at the trio, if you will, to basically have responsibilities for all the offices of the firm. And the other thing, which was important to the partnership, was to have diversity in every different way. Geographic diversity, a diversity of ideas, an infusion of ideas, and even diversity in the practice groups from which the three of us come. So from my perspective, that's what sort of led to the consensus around what I think was somewhat of a somewhat unique arrangement, but an exciting opportunity for us to lead this firm forward in a little different direction than it had been led under Alan's leadership.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. I kind of like how you touched on the fact that you guys not only talk about geographical diversity, but also the different kind of tasks that you all handle. So, Leander, if you want to touch on a little bit kind of what your roles and responsibilities for you guys were prior to taking this position in the leadership.
Sure. So all three of us, Kent and Jim and I, were members of the management committee for a number of years prior to us taking this role as the three co-managing partners. And Jim, I believe, has been for at least a decade the chair of our insurance and reinsurance practice, as well as the lead in our DC office and our thriving practice there. Similarly, Kent has been the chair of our real estate group and has been leading that from our Fairfield County, headquarters for a number of years as well. And each of us on the management committee have participated in the strategic direction of the firm and all the leadership decisions. We've worked with Alan for his entire tenure as our managing partner. My role on the management committee was the member responsible for personnel, and that was across the firm. I also was the former co-chair of our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. So as you can tell, all three of us were not new to the leadership of the firm. We've all been engaged for a long time in the direction of the firm. So maybe it wasn't as much of a surprise that our partners would select the three of us to lead.
Ken, I just want to talk about, kind of going into the expansion of the model and everything. You were quoted in the Hartford Business Journal as saying, managing a law firm is more complex than ever, with changing technologies, navigating COVID-19's lasting impact, and focusing on constantly evolving and developing practice areas. But it is also a very exciting time to be a part of the leadership. Do you want to talk and expand a little bit upon that statement? What has been the impact of COVID on how you guys look at your roles and responsibilities?
Yeah, well, this has been a tremendous challenge. We got picked as the managing partners, and then they took away the net, and we had to try to figure out what to do. But in some respects, it was a blessing because the three of us are we talked about what we wanted, we talked about what our strategy is for this firm, and we talked about what we thought the future should look like. So because of the pandemic, everything has changed. We've had to look at the effect of work from home. We've had to look at the importance of technology. We've had to look at the ways that lawyers connect with one another. We have to look at how we can best train people. And we have to look at how best to connect with our clients. So on told, everything that you're dealing with in a pandemic is pointing us to the future, and helping us make decisions that make us a better firm. So even though it was scary as heck, this was a very good training ground for the three of us in trying to move this firm probably 10 years in the last one.
So obviously, kind of the theme here is change. So I want to talk a little bit about how your employees kind of reacted and responded to the change. And do you guys think you've met with positive feedback from them, or has it been slow to adapt? If you want to talk to me a little bit about that, maybe Jim, if you have anything to say about that.
Yeah, I think that, one of the things that's interesting, right, is that because we haven't been all back to the office since we assumed leadership, I think that's the one area where maybe I don't have as my finger on the pulse in terms of the other offices. I will say from DC, I think they've embraced the change in leadership. They've embraced the direction. They've embraced the uniting of the firm, which has been really, really important. So, and that's not only attorneys, that's the staff and non-attorneys here. The firm's a pretty neat place in that it's not very hierarchical at all. And that comes across with the three of us. We'll talk to anyone at any time. That's a blessing and a curse. But I think that also has come through to the firm as a whole. I mean, we are truly open door leaders, and agree on that platform. And that's really important to, I think, any organization's success in 2021 moving forward.
Yeah, I'd add to that our employees have really embraced the 3-person leadership team. We really live by everyone's got to be in the arena. So it's an all hands on deck, and people are excited about the level of engagement. They're excited about the model, of Jim and Kent and I. We show up together, we tag team for each other. We are talking to our partners together and our employees together. We've had a number of town halls throughout the pandemic. That has been another touch point for us. And I think generally, considering that we're in a pandemic where everyone is mostly working from home remotely, having these connection points with each other and with our employees has really strengthened us. We are looking forward to getting back together so I can go visit Jim and the team in DC and Kent in Stamford. But nevertheless, I think we spend a fair amount of time together on video. So we see each other probably more now than we did in the prior years. Wouldn't you agree?
I do agree. One thing I would add, Leander, to that, and then I'll kick it off to Ken if he has heard. What may be a surprise to some is we really like each other, which I think has made it that much easier. And that comes across to the firm as a whole, and that's another important part of the selection I think that they made.
Right. It would be a very difficult job if we didn't have each other. We trust each other's judgment. We're learning every single day. As we say, to one another, we're managing people and we're managing a business. And, during a pandemic, everybody is sort of stuck in the echo chamber of their heads. They're people that are always concerned, and communication is the most important thing. And having 3 people that are reaching out and that they can see us working together and that we have a shared goal for where we want to go, really has helped the experience. We would be lonely like crazy if we didn't have each other. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, I like how you guys kind of talk about the implementation of these town halls with your staff. I kind of think those have been, key elements for a lot of businesses and how they've survived through the pandemic. So if we just want to expand a little bit, kind of some of the employees, I know beyond your 3-person team, you have some key staff at the firm that kind of help guide some of these transitions. So if you want to, and maybe I can direct this to Kent, if you want to talk about some of those chief people in charge that can help you guys through this transition.
Yeah, we'll give you an example today. Joe, who's the head of our technology, who we just had speak to the partnership as a whole, he has been instrumental in moving us within a matter of 2 weeks from being a brick and mortar firm to being one that's virtual. And it hasn't always been easy, but he has been involved with us strategically and how we want to move the firm forward. And further to the point that we talked about earlier, that we believe that we are now setting the priorities that will enable us to move into the next 5 years and 10 years, and both attract talent from across the country because we can work virtually very efficiently, and also that we can provide our workforce an opportunity to have more flexibility about where they do things. And through technology, we will be able to reduce our real estate costs and use that to provide better services to our clients, because we'll be right there next door to them. So maybe you want to speak to Joe, Leander, and to Tom?
No, I think that's exactly right. Kent, that Joe, who's our Chief Information Officer, and Tom Purcell, who's our CFO, and Maria Drag, who leads our human resources function, they have been instrumental. They are running our day-to-day, and they are making sure that our employees know what's happening, that they are well supported with respect to technology, that we are able to be responsive to clients. You really can't run the business without the key people in those places. And we meet regularly with each of them. We talk about what the priorities are, on a regular basis. We have them talk not just to the three of us, but to the partnership and to the employees at large. To Kent's point, having open lines of communication provides stability to our employees in a time where things are not as stable. And so we found that having that line and that open door policy that Jim talked about has been really helpful. And we couldn't do it without our leaders.
So you guys have spoken a lot to the fact that you're kind of now switching into shifting your priorities for the next 5 to 10 years. What do you see as some obstacles or challenges that you've faced in your role so far, and how do you kind of overcome them? And I can kick that over to Kent to just talk a little bit about.
Well, again, this is a very hands-on business. We are a client service business, and the obstacles are reaching our people and connecting our people. Our people are happier. We make more profit. We run more efficiently if everybody is comfortable and feels confident in where leadership wants to take them, and that they're working together. But you are working with people, and people, you have to earn their trust. And in order to earn their trust, you have to do it every single day and make sure that people understand that we're consistent in our approach, and we believe in each other, and we believe in what we're doing. So this has not been a cakewalk. We've had some very difficult times trying to lead people, both in the first year of our leadership and working with sort of an unprecedented set of circumstances. But we have grown together as a leadership team because of our common goals and because of our unified desire to see where we can move this firm. But it takes some work. It's an everyday thing.
I think it's probably the best way to think about our challenges are talent and technology, right? And that goes to what Kent was talking about. Employee engagement, employee safety, employee productivity in a remote world, our ability to meet our client demands in a virtual setting, our ability to talk to each other and connect. So those are the things that have been, I think, our biggest challenges in the last few months. And I think we've already shared some of how we are overcoming that and how we're facing that. We face it together. We face it with touch points. We face it with person-to-person communication. Jim usually flies all around the country, and he has not been able to do that in his practice. So he has had to shift his practice to something that's more virtual, arguing online. And a lot of our lawyers are living those challenges. So for us, our way of meeting those is to kind of understand that the landscape has changed. Understand what our focus and our priorities are, which is employees and technology, and then of course driven by client needs and services. Jim, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but
no, I think the only thing I would add is one thing we do is we address issues head on, and that's another, I think, thing that's really important to making this successful. And maybe that's we've all been, some of us have been at prior places where maybe you felt that issues weren't addressed head on with employees of the firm, and we don't agree with that idea at all. So we tackle things as they're presented to us, and we agree as the three of us that that's the way to do it.
And I think what's also important to note is that the three of us are practicing lawyers. We're not we're not we're not doing this with an intention of becoming professional management. And what people don't know is that Jim has been running one of the largest litigation in the country and also doing this during the first 5 months, just to add the degree of difficulty of trying to make it work. But so we understand the challenges of our partners, and because we're on the ground, hopefully we can provide better service to our partners.
Yeah, Ken, I'm going to piggyback off that a little bit. You guys did mention, just beyond your responsibilities on the management team, you are all focusing on your own areas of practice. And Leander, you were quoted in the Hartford Business Journal as saying, "We want to make sure our leaders are practicing lawyers so they understand what is happening with our clients. We are able to be better leaders and better lawyers by not giving up our practices." So how do you balance your responsibilities with the leadership with your own practicing responsibilities?
I know it's going to sound like we're on a rewind button, but it's because I get to rely on Jim and Kent. Right? We share the responsibilities. If any one of us were doing this alone, it would be really impossible to also be a practicing lawyer at the level that each of us have gotten to in our careers. We're all mid-career, right? Our clients depend on us. We have long-standing relationships with we are still walking away from that would be really difficult. And what I realized was that the former model for a lot of law firms was someone who was end stage of their practicing career would become the managing partner. And that person would leave the practice of law largely behind, maybe maintaining some client relationships, but mostly leave the practice. And what Kent and Jim and I are forced to do are to continue to serve our clients who continue to rely on us and keep building those relationships. And because of that, we understand what is hard for our lawyers. We understand that, if video conferencing is not working for me, that's going to be a challenge for my colleagues. And I think without each other, I think it would be impossible. So kudos to Alan and all the other folks who are doing it alone. And each of us also have the support of our practice groups and the other lawyers in the firm. So we have a deep bench. I get to shout out my colleagues in the school law practice group, the largest in the state. And thankfully, we have a deep bench. So if I'm tied up in a meeting and Jim or Kent are doing something else, my other colleagues can handle a client issue and vice versa. So I think that's made it a lot easier than expected, but I can say with a surety that I could not do this job alone and also be a practicing lawyer. Not well.
Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for taking a little bit of your time. Today I think we've heard a lot about kind of these themes of communication, open lines, the support staff that really help you get through the finish, and kind of focusing on your own areas of practice to help make you guys not only better leaders, but better lawyers as well. I do want to wrap just briefly with you, Leander. You are going to be a featured speaker at our When Women Lead conference. You're going to be speaking in a discussion about diversity and equity. So I just want to talk a little bit about how you are one of the few African-American women leading a law firm in the region. So I want to ask you why you feel it's important not only to maintain diverse leadership within your practice, but also for your clients and the community as a whole.
That's a great question. Our industry has struggled to have a diverse leadership, and I'm proud that Shipman has really been at the forefront for a number of years. We really are one of the top law firms in the country for women lawyers, and that bears out with choosing, a female, an African-American partner who's sort of at the earlier end of her mid-career. And I think it sends a message that we understand that we need to reflect our community, that we understand that we need leadership that looks a little different and that brings a different perspective. We are fortunate, again, on this tripartite leadership team to have 3 people from different perspectives and different practices and different life experiences. That's how you get the best decision. If you have good diversity at the leadership level, then that's going to lead to a more diverse answer and better results for our firm and for our industry. So I'm very proud to do that. And I'm very proud to work with Kent and Jim to lead this firm into the next 100 years.
I love that answer, Leander. Guys, thank you so much again for joining us on the BizCast today. We appreciate your insight. And hopefully, we'll see another 100 years of such a successful firm. So thank you so much and have a good afternoon, okay?
Thank you for your time. Thank you. Take care, Jim. Kent.
Bye.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
For the latest Connecticut business news, events, and resources, visit CBIA.com. Follow us on Twitter at CBIA News and on LinkedIn and Facebook. Contact us anytime at 860-244-1900. Thanks so much for listening.